Welcome to Friday Morning Dharma on September 12th. Let's begin with some meditation. Please settle into a comfortable meditation posture. Please take care to ensure that your spine is straight and relaxed. Settle and rest. To begin, I'd like you to please bring your awareness to the exhalation of your breath and very gently allow your exhalation to be just a bit longer and a bit more pronounced than your inhalation. Please feel free to experiment with pausing briefly at the bottom of each exhalation. This meditation technique will allow both your physical body and your mind to start to settle and to rest, to become quiet and still. Moment by moment, phenomena are undergoing change. It's not that things change or that things will change. It's that things are in the process of changing moment by moment by moment. The people sitting in meditation right now are not the same as the people who entered the room and sat down a few moments ago. Meditation on impermanence is an extremely powerful method for overcoming the painful and oftentimes harmful mind of desirous attachment. That's because if you recognize that the object of your attachment is in the process of changing, dissolving, and disappearing, then the basis for the mind of attachment is also necessarily changing, dissolving, and disappearing. Please know this truth about wisdom realizing impermanence. If you perfect your practice of wisdom realizing impermanence, you will never suffer again in this lifetime. A monk once made the following statement. He said, "In my 20 years of wearing the robes of an ordained monk, I have learned this one fact. All that arises ceases. This I know. So, for the remainder of our meditation this morning, I'd like you to please just rest in the wisdom that recognizes the impermanence of all products. All that arises ceases. Please rest with this truth. You might even consider taking this truth as your mantra, which you could silently recite to yourself. All that arises ceases.
I got options. So Venezuela just put out a statement.
Those of us who have a practice of meditating on the inner body may find it beneficial to conjoin this silent mantra recitation with meditation on the inner body, thus allowing the syllables of the mantra to unite, become one with your body-mind continuum. All that arises ceases. Become one with this truth. Now, please redirect your awareness. Become aware again of this collection of parts we've agreed to label physical body, and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you are occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. Become aware again of clouds, of blue skies beyond the clouds, of limitless space beyond the blue sky. And we dedicate all of the merit, all of the positive energy from this morning's meditation to world peace. May leaders of countries who are at odds with one another soon come to recognize that nothing is accomplished with a mind of anger. Instead, may they resolve their differences with minds of empathy, patient acceptance, compassion, and wisdom. And may we individually make the greatest contribution we can to world peace by resolving differences in our own lives using minds of empathy, patient acceptance, compassion, and wisdom. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Welcome back, everyone. So, every time we do that meditation, I need to make clear that that mantra, if you will, all that arises ceases, is not to say that all that arises ceases to exist. We're saying that all that arises ceases being what it was in the previous moment, right? This isn't like a nihilistic meditation. It ceases to exist. It just ceases being what it was in the previous moment, thus impermanence. So, um, every once in a while, every once in a while, as you guys know, I offer a little homework assignment for you to contemplate. And here's one for you to play with. Or put it this way, does the mental action of abstaining create karma? Does abstaining from doing something create karma? That's the question. And I'll give you a couple of little hints to maybe inform your contemplation for what they're worth. One is abstaining from something an action? Karma, after all, is about actions and their effects. Is abstaining from doing something an action? And number two, the other hint I know you guys know is that the fully ripened effect of karma is feeling. So feeling is the fully ripened effect of karma. So sit with that for a while, contemplate, and we'll talk about it in a couple, 2 or 3 weeks. So just kind of maybe to give you an example to inform. So let's say that I get the impulse to rob a convenience store. Okay. I get the impulse to rob a convenience store, but I abstain from doing it. Do I create karma? Is karma created through that abstaining? So I find it an interesting question and a means of deepening our appreciation of actions and their effects. So we are going through, of course, In Love with the World by Yange Mingyur. And Yange Mingyur is at the Varanasi train station and is adjusting to his new life. He is almost penniless. He is like his living room is the train station, in India with millions, like many, many people. India, highly populated country, as you know. People sitting on the platform, like cooking food on the platform, families, laying over for a couple, 2 or 3 days until their train comes and they can go on. Just this very, very, for Yangye Mingyur, a very unusual situation. And Yangye Mingyur goes and with what little money he has, he's like going to spend his first night in the train station, right? Potentially sleeping on the granite floor of the train station with all of the other migrators. But he ultimately rents a bed in the dormitory on the floor above the train station for 12 hours, $1.50 for 12 hours. He gets caught up in the dormitory. And also in the process, he kind of befriends a family of 5 that is just hanging out, waiting for their train. They've been there for a couple of days, family of 5. Yangye Mingyur takes the family out to lunch and buys them, like, I don't think a sit-down restaurant, but kind of a cart where the guy's selling rice and dal, pennies to feed the 6 of them. And I found that to be noteworthy because it reminds me how rich, how affluent us Westerners are. We kind of, I lose sight of the fact of how much we have. I don't know, I don't want to overshare with regard to my own personal financial means, but I lead a fairly modest life. I'm not getting rich being the administrator of Lotus Center, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that. But compared to virtually all of the people in India, I'm super rich, right? I'm super affluent. And that links up a little bit to what we've been talking about in our, or what we talked about in the first class of our series last Friday, the Friday evening series, Buddhist Activism for Today's World. And remember, for those of you who attended or watched the video, we're talking about the perfection of giving, right? The perfection of giving, in particular, giving material things. And, I think it's tempting for us to kind of withdraw and guard our resources and guard our money, especially those of us who are approaching retirement age, which is I need to have this much in order to make sure that I'm okay, to make sure that I'm provided for. Not saying that that's imprudent, and we're all rich. By other people's standards, we're all rich. So I think keeping that in mind as we approach the perfection of giving, one of the 6 perfections taught by Shantideva in Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. I think to keep in mind our relative affluence might remove an obstacle or two from us engaging in the perfection of giving. So Yangye Mingyur goes from his very sheltered, very insulated existence of abbot of a monastery to being penniless and having as his living room a train station in Varanasi, the platform of a train station in Varanasi. And he didn't use these words, but in so many words, he's freaking out, right? All sorts of painful states of mind are arising. whereas at the monastery in the town he lived in the other part of India, he was respected, revered, deferred to. Now he's just a number, right? And, almost out of money, in a place he's never been, living a life he's never lived. He's freaking out a little bit and addressing his freak out by watching his mind, and seeing what delusions are arising as a result of these new circumstances. So, so as I said, we had our first class in the 6-class series on Friday, and a number of people said that they really enjoyed the class. They really enjoyed it and really liked it, and and that's all nice and everything. But I find myself wondering, to what extent do, for those of us who liked the class, to what extent was that because it was a new shiny thing that we hadn't heard about before, a new Dharma shiny thing? There's the story of Shantideva, a miraculous, amazing story, which is super fun to listen to. There's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. We learn what a bodhisattva is and what bodhicitta is. And we learn the 6 perfections. It's like this whole new world is open to us of shiny Dharma teachings. And so we like it. By comparison, we may find watching our mind and being with the delusions that arise to be not so sexy, right? It's like, yeah, delusions, watch the stuff that comes to the mind, and just see what happens, like clouds moving through our mind. Yeah, I've heard that, whatever. Let's move on to the new stuff. Yonggi Mingyur is saying, that watching our thoughts and being aware of them is our chopping wood and carrying water. Life before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. Life after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. No matter where we are on the path, watching the thoughts that arise in our mind and being aware of them is our chopping wood and carrying water, our daily practice. So in the 2 minutes we have left, I'm going to read a paragraph from In Love with the World that speaks to this very point. Yongey Mingyur writes, in a private meeting with his teacher, Tai Situ Rinpoche, the abbot of the monastery where Yongey Mingyur lived, I told him about the panic attacks I was having and the fear and anxiety that surrounded him. This is them, rather. This was when Yongey Mingyur was a young monk in a monastery somewhere, a child monk. Tai Satu Rinpoche said, when the affliction of negative emotions, also known as delusions, when the afflictions of negative emotions is blazing like fire, then wisdom is also blazing like fire. Yongey Mingyur continues, this sounded encouraging, but I misunderstood him. I thought that wisdom meant a more skillful or effortful approach to getting rid of panic, not the wisdom that can be accessed when our afflictions are blown up as if on a big screen in the sky. I couldn't accommodate the possibility that panic and wisdom might coexist. So, yeah, those delusions, we can learn from them. We can regard them as wisdom teachings, right? As things we can learn from. Somebody shared in our first Friday night class, very authentically and very openly said, we're talking about the state of the country and the state of the world. And she said, I get so angry over the actions of the president and the policies. She says, I get so angry I can barely contain myself. The delusion of anger. And there is wisdom to be had from recognizing, acknowledging, and observing that anger, right? That's the fire, the blazing of wisdom that Yongey Mingyur's teacher was talking about. Because if we like sidestepped or ignored that delusion, suppressed it, whatever we do to not experience and not observe it, then we run the risk of duping ourselves into thinking, oh, I've solved my anger problem. Yep, no anger here. Kind of one of these ignorance seems to be blissful types of things. But anyways, we can follow Yongey Mingyur's lead as he is observing what arises in his mind. We can do the same thing in our daily lives and learn, regard those states of mind, those painful states of mind, as being wisdom teachings. So there you have it, you guys. Thank you. New time, by the way, new time for Medicine Buddha meditation, starting tomorrow, and thereafter we're going to meet from 8:30 to 9:15. So that's the new time. Attend in person or via live stream. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Jeff. Very good.
Jeff, is the class tonight also the 5:30 class?
It is. It's happening tonight. The second class in the series, 5:30
cool.
to 6:15, either in person or via live stream. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Roberta. Bye, everybody.